So, episode 3 by Genius Awakening, right? So just to kick things off, right? Just like a little preamble. Of course, Tracy, you could come in and weigh in your thoughts on, what Mr. Ye is up to right now, right? So far we have been enjoying this documentary, right? I mean, for one thing, because we were technically D1s, right? And because the show zeroes in so much on his early career, basically. So like in the 2000s when he was in the process of making the college dropout, when he got signed, prior to that, when he got signed to, Rockefeller. And it was just seeing all this rare footage and all these big, celebrities in hip hop and R&B, who were associated with him at the time. And it was just that come up story that we really enjoyed. But all through that, though, and I brought it up, in both reviews. I was concerned as to the direction of it, because, like, with the second episode in particular, that would be Purpose. I was worried that they would spend a lot of time on the car crash and him,
Right.
moving forward through that, and then actually dropping the album and all that kind of stuff, right? So I was wondering what the direction was going to be in. Sorry, was going to go. But then also to the way how it's framed now, the one of the directors itself, that would be Cody Simmons, right? A really good friend of Kanye, actually put him on to this rap show that he did like back in the late 90s, right?
Right.
He's the narrator, he's the guy that we're pretty much following, because it's not just about Kanye's come up in life, but also Cody as well too, because pretty much Cody was just the guy who was just documenting everything at that point, right? But as the show pretty much reveals, well, not even in this episode, but I would say near the end of the second one, I believe it was. Yeah, I mean, they kind of separate, right? You know what I mean? Times change, you know what I mean? Priorities and whatnot. You know what I mean? Cudi with his priorities, with his family. And Kanye, you know what I mean? In this new stage of his career, post-college dropout, right? So, and also as we've been doing over the past couple episodes, we just kind of had to bring up the unfortunate fact that, while this documentary series was going on, boy, Kanye just getting involved in a set of shenanigans way. So the
Yeah.
most recent now is just him dropping this video for Easy, which was one of the first singles that he dropped for Donda 2, I believe it was. I believe it was, because damn song wasn't even on the album, which got me angry for one thing, right? And I also covered the album last week, yes, and I was
Yeah.
disappointed by it, right? But
Right.
doing him, I know he will drop some second or two draft and add more songs to it, and be like, okay, I kind of see where you're getting at. But basically, with that album, in a nutshell, it's just like this divorce album. It's just him kind of venting about, Kim leaving him, and she's with Pete and all that kind of stuff, right? And also, last week, Kim is legally, I should say, not officially, legally single now, but just you could see just how this thing is weighing down, and especially with the release of this music video, right?
Mhm.
I think Peter's kind of cool with it. He not kicking up a huge fuss about it, because he SNL alumni now, so he could just go and crack some jokes about it anyway, right?
Sure.
But yeah, so while all this is going on too, although I kind of glance at this, well, Trees, you could kind of film me on this if
Yeah.
you want to. He dropped this tweet, this poem basically that he
Yeah.
called Divorce, and like I just look at it, I just look at the tweet itself, divorce in big words, and like this, all these like lyrics basically. I just say, you know what? Nah, again, I don't want that to tarnish what I've seen with the third episode, right? Because
I've-
there's a lot of things that go on in this third episode. But before we get to it, anything you just want to weigh in so far on, the man himself? And I'm not talking about where he's at now, but where he was before, and how you got into the man himself and his music.
my thing is, like, up to recently, and I mean like last week, I was talking to a friend of mine. We were talking about something or the other, and I just randomly started singing, drug deal and just to get by. And I remember that feeling and that vibe, and listening to that album, and I was like, I legitimately have to ask myself, where is that Kanye? And I know that there are reasons and logics, and there's a whole medical situation going on, and how his mental is and that kind of stuff. But for me, it was like, how does somebody move from the college dropout Kanye to, standing up and saying slavery was a choice Kanye? And, it sort of brings the notion for me in an event, the idea of how can we separate. It's a question we ask whenever somebody gets into, like, somebody high profile gets into something ridiculous. We have to ask ourselves, can we separate the person, the man, the woman, from the art that they gave us, because Kanye as a person these days has completely, and I say days, but really this year or years have been a complete 180. I mean, even the divorce poem that he has up there, because I saw it and I legitimately thought that it was like a track listing, but reading it out now, it starts with divorce feels like getting full blown COVID. And I have friends of mine who actually have had to go through. I mean, we've all been touched by it. And, it's like, nah, maybe divorce is not necessarily like that. And then he goes into a whole series of what divorce is, like a funeral or a miscarriage or a broken leg. And I'm thinking, I mean, I've never had that particular pain to deal with, but I really do worry about this version of Kanye. And then in terms of the shenanigans that you see now, where Kanye is spotted with a woman who looks like a replica of Kim walking on the street, or, the red flags associated with, sending a truck up to her house with a whole bunch of flowers and that kind of stuff. There is a kind of a almost scary undertone, and I really do miss the original Kanye, the one who, gave me classics and seemed to have been putting his heart, his soul. I mean, he still puts his heart and soul in his music, as far as I'm concerned. But there was something grounded about that Kanye, as opposed to Ye, who is at right now doing random Sunday morning services into which I have to tell you, that whole Sunday morning service is also hilarious to me, because it's like the whole lot of people within like the religious circle who may or may not have been appreciative of Kanye and his music and the message that he was trying to deliver beforehand, has suddenly now become, look, Kanye is doing Sunday services and they're actually playing his music and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is the version of Kanye that you want to uplift, as opposed to the version who was already out there giving a message. I don't know. So while I have yet to actually see Jeen-Yuhs, the actual man himself and his shenanigans are yet to be desired. And as for this divorce video, which I will admittedly, after this is over, I'm going to go and look it up. I'm just hearing about it. It's giving me shades of Cry Me a River with Justin and the Britney wanna look alike and that kind of stuff. And we all see
God,
how
I remember that was terrible, Joe. That was legit terrible.
We know where that has led to now, so I'm kind of hoping he doesn't dig his own proverbial grave. But yeah, that's me on Kanye right now.
All right, so what Awakening is about, right? Is basically everything that happened right after the success of Late Registration, which, by the way, still remains my all-time, favorite Kanye album, right? And we pretty much see his career just, on the rise, right? Especially with the success of that album and, of course, Graduation in 2007, right? I think it's after Graduation, though. This was, when, unfortunately, Kanye's mom, Donda, passed away, right? At age 58, right? And you see the downward spiral at that point, you know what I mean? And even before that too, Kanye was just always outspoken. You've seen just how outspoken he was, especially with what you say with Bush don't care about black people, or the infamous VMAs and all that kind of stuff, right? So we see that in a fantastic montage. Actually, doesn't linger too much on it, but it trusts that the viewer knows these facts already, right? So I'm glad that they just kind of gloss over them, right? But yeah, basically you just see how his life pretty much changed right after Donda's death, though, and it really did affect the relationship. It just kind of broke it even more, I would say, between him and Cudi, right? Cudi, however, at the time, he had his first daughter. Her name is Ivy, I believe it was, Ivy. So he has his priorities as well too. But at the same time now, because he's been following Kanye so long, and because they originally wanted to do a documentary to begin with, it's just like, well, like what going on now? You know what I mean? So he kind of finds himself like, I kind of still need to be part of Kanye's come up now, you know what I mean? Because he's been like observing it from the sidelines, basically, unfortunately, because Kanye don't have time for him, you know what I mean, for reasons, right? But with that being said, though, Yeah, Kanye is just on this downward spiral. You see how it shows up on his albums. Most notably, the Life of Pablo and stuff like that, right? But at the same time now, Cudi somehow kind of finds his way back into Kanye's life and career and whatnot. You see the process of him just trying to get back to normal. He does bring up his bipolarism and just the medicine that he has to take to curb that and all that stuff. Though we actually go to Japan. And actually see him working with Kid Cudi, who by the way,
Right.
now for Donda 2, he kind of doesn't want anything to do with. He doesn't want any part. He doesn't want to be involved with him basically because like, oh, Cudi, you Pete Davidson's friend. Well, all right, that's good, right? Why? Because
Or else
Cudi
schoolboy kind
appeared,
of thing.
last year on SNL. So okay,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
I don't know, right? But yeah, it's just pretty much just Cudi just seeing him kind of pick himself back up, right? But of course, they stop. Of course, they bring up the MAGA era. You know what I mean, with his alliance with former alliance with Trump. Him eventually wanted to run for president, and that shenanigans that took place with his press conference. Well, the rally, sorry, that he had in Southern California. What was where? I think it was South Carolina. Sorry, I believe it was, right. And then you see the
I remember
aftermath of
watching that.
Right.
Oh yeah. We saw that and him
Oh,
crying and talk
that.
about, oh, my dad was gonna support me, man. Me crying like that. Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they show all that too. You know what I mean? And last thing last, it pretty much ends at the right spot now, where it ends on 2021 with the release of the first Donda album. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, this makes total sense to end that narrative at that point, right?
Right.
But I'll share my thoughts on the narrative in a bit, right? But yeah, Ricardo. What do you think about this final episode though?
Yeah, this one this one slowed down for me, to be honest. I liked it, but like it was because it was less nostalgia filled. I liked it a lot less. I was like, ugh, oh yeah, this is when all the bullshit start. Okay. Um to me they get into the really the precipitous fall of, after his mom died. Like, that's what it was about. Everything just sort of unraveled from that point on. And it wasn't as depressing as I expected it to be. And they cut through the more cringy parts, admittedly, but it was still like, oh, there's these hard times. Though. There's
Yeah.
no, and I was into it, but because he spent less time with him, wasn't flowing as well, I think, as before. Like before, it was such a great, verity approach to the filmmaking, bouncing off. This one, not so much. I think it's because it's like, all right, you could tell this footage feeds cobbled together after, and not as, like, for lack of a better term, organic, for me. But yeah, it's still good, but a weekend into the trilogy, to be honest, in my opinion. That's how I feel about it.
All right. Well, for me, I do agree with you. Like similar to the College trilogy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This episode 3 is the weakest though, but
Yeah.
it's not to say that it's terrible. It's just in comparison to the first 2 episodes. Yeah. It is. It doesn't have that. It's not as organic, right? Than the last two, right? But that being said, though, I was like surprised, like thoroughly shocked at how Cudi was able to just move through, just maneuver through that period from 2007 to now, well, to 2021, basically. How he was able to cover all that ground, you know what I mean, and make it flow and make sense, basically, right? Because yeah, the excuse is, well, I wasn't a part of Kanye's career and life at that point, and at that time he was going through a lot of trouble and whatnot, and then, well, circumstances happen. It's like, yeah, come back true, and you're still my boy and all that kind of stuff now. So it makes sense like that, right? And so to cover all that now, there's a extensive use of like news footage and all that kind of stuff. You see TMZ stuff, the VMA stuff, all that stuff, right? But I do love how they just glance over everything. In this great montage, well, series of montages they have too, and it worked. Then they actually make it work aesthetically with the whole VHS, kind of aesthetic now, you know what I mean? Just kind of glossing over everything and adding these like visual effects and whatnot to make it look like, you're just seeing this fever dream of events, basically. So I
Right.
like how they did that, right? But like when I was thinking about it, right, at the end of it all, right, and just in comparison to what we saw before, how I saw it basically, and it actually like rung true to me, right? Um, Because yeah, I mean, like his story, like Kanye's story, isn't over yet, right? So one will come out of the show probably wondering, all right, what was the point of all this? Like, all right, we see how humble and cool he was then, to now he's just not manic, or depressive, but he's you're not sure what he's gonna say, you're not sure how he's gonna act,
mhm.
and all that kind of stuff there. But the way how I see it, and to me it makes sense now, is about the people that are in your life, right? That's what I felt like, Cody's, place in the overall trilogy. That's his role in this whole thing, right? Because yeah, it could have just been simply this was Kanye then and this is Kanye now, and Kanye have issues, blah 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 blah, right? But I like that the show was smart enough to say, yes, this is Kanye now, and yes, he will do good things. Yes, he will do bad things. Yes, he will do shitty things. But at the end of the day, he's a human being, right? But that's that to say, and I have to give credit to this episode for doing that. It does not give him any passes for the dumb shit that he did do. They
Right.
do treat it as, yeah, you dropped the ball, you wasn't thinking straight, and all that kind of stuff, right? There's a great moment actually right after the presidential rally where he's going to visit some artist who makes bowls there, and his dad calls there, tell him, well, dude, next time have a script on you, like like legit say that. I could do it for you, but next time have a script. I know it is just speak from your heart, but next time have a script, right? Don't just talk about me and aborting you, and don't do that, right?
You know?
And I was like, yeah, this worked. This makes a lot of sense, then. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I was
Because
actually really shocked at that because, like, wait, Kanye, dad's still in his life? I don't know that. They're like, okay.
well,
I didn't think so at the time.
yeah, kinda it is, because I forgot to mention
That's
too.
actually news to me, to be honest.
Right.
All right, well, they also brought up the Jesus is King era, right? This is where he dropped the album in
That's like
2019.
complete checkout. To be
Right,
honest.
and the short film, which I paid money to see in IMAX, and I absolutely
I
hate,
remember.
it was a waste of money, right? But point is, there was a video that he dropped where his dad was there, right? This was
Right.
in the Wyoming estate that they own, basically, right? Then they have another video that they have church on Sunday. That's where you saw Kim and their children, and his her mother-in-law, and the family. You saw the Kardashians in that video, right? And the Sunday service choir as well too, right? But yeah, but while I did appreciate seeing that Sunday service stuff though, it still kind of brings up a kind of a hypocritical vibe to the whole thing now, because it's like, oh well, this is how he was then when he was trying to be all full Christian and full gospel, but because a lot of people didn't take it, now Donda come now, and he trying to do the part secular, part church kind of stuff now, you know what I mean? So I'm not sure how people will take to the moments where he's talking about this is all about Christ, and what I mean, like all that stuff I did before, and it's just how it looks in the long run, right? But other than that though, it's just again, it's just a person who is growing and all that kind of stuff, right? But to me, at the heart of the whole show is just, or at least the message I got out of it now, was the people that are in his life, whether it's people that he sought out or friends that just show up, or he kind of run into and whatnot. Like in the case of Cudi, for example, because it could have just been, all right, Kanye don't need me anymore, I have my family, cool. But it's like, well, he kind of somehow found his way back to working with Kanye through a Common performance of all things. Like Common was just like, yo, I want you to come
Right.
through and film my stuff, and hey, look Kanye did, right? So boom, there it is, right? Because look at it, like it could have just been the end right there with Cudi having his kid, and or Kanye move on and he don't need me, fine, and look at how his life and career derailing, right? He don't need me, but he was still concerned for him because they were friends, right? So it's just how life kind of does that. I also love how the film kind of relates, how sorry, kind of compares Kanye losing his mom to Cudi losing his dad, right?
Right.
Yeah, that moment hit me as well too. So it's kind of like they kind of understand that loss, that grief and all that kind of stuff, right? But and this to me is like the essence of what this whole series is about, right? Kanye is a human being, right? For better or for worse, right? You may hate him because of all the dumb shit that he did, right? But he is human, just like every one of us. He makes mistakes, but it's just that because of his status, he makes mistakes in a glorious way, in a grandiose kind of way, right? That's it.
Again, that's my problem with all of this. Again, that is perfectly fine to see, and
There's a butt coming, but go on.
right. But yeah, it's still look. If you really have these problems, you don't have to see why does all of this have to be so public? No, that is my main thing with all
Totally
of
agree. Yeah,
exactly.
totally agree. Like everything with him, like I
Exactly.
made that criticism with the Done the Two album. Everything that he's going through, he just has to throw it out to the public. Like I don't need to hear how you feeling about this divorce. I don't need to hear, oh, I want to be with the kids, and I don't need to hear that.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's just on top of that, like, look, politics, whatever, fine, right? James Brown used to like Nixon, right? Whatever. But my attitude is that look, this don't have to be the way it had to be. He just come across like a complete ignoramus. Again, you have mental health issues and you should take care of that, but it have ways to deal with that. Pete, who also has mental health issues? Pete Davidson.
Yes, he does.
We hear about these things, but like
Facts.
he handles this a lot better, and then how to deal with it. Come on, it's a little ridiculous and silly. And then to have this documentary frame it, as I said, it comes across like a kind of puff pieces, if anything. Like again, I ain't say no. You could, he is to be sympathized, but it at a certain point it just get ridiculous. Anyway, whatever.
Agreed. Yeah.
go ahead.
While I'm wrapping up here, but I do agree though. But at the end of the day though, I feel like given the subject matter though, and given the fact that I have all this like decade worth of like just footage on me, and I need
Right.
to put this together, right? Because we was working on this thing from since what, like the early 2000s.
Right.
Yeah, this is as good as a Kanye documentary could ever be,
Right,
in my
exactly.
opinion though. It is far from perfect, right? Just like the subject matter, it is far from perfect. There's flaws and whatnot though, especially in terms of how you should look at Kanye and if you should sympathize with him or whatnot. If it should feel sorry for him, you know what I mean? Because he kind of talking a little slowish because of the meds, right? Or should I just be like, well, nah, get off the meds and be you? But then when he's him, he's going on stage and talking about, oh, you know what I mean? Well, the press is going to be talking about this tomorrow. Well, you know what? Show's over, and drop the mic and everybody cuss them, right? It's all these things, right? So it to me, like this show isn't telling people how to feel about Kanye. It's just showing him and just kind of making the audience kind of make their own opinion of it from that point on, right? But really, it's the come up moments, the first two episodes that really works for me though, because I am a sucker for come up stories. I just love seeing, especially in that era too, in the 2000s, right? I mean, that's where we digested a lot of rap music basically, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, just seeing how this guy who was making beats, was able to be signed to one of the biggest labels, right? And have to convince them and all too, I could rap as well too, right? I mean, well, the rest is history, right?
Which they kind of did they follow up on this with this? I couldn't follow that they follow up on that from the third part.
No. It just kind of stops at
Exactly.
There was late registration, and then there was graduation, and well, that was it. After that,
Exactly.
there was no mention of labels. It was just, all right, this is where he's at. This is the music he's putting out. They don't mention Def Jam or or Rockefeller or by the way, or I should say Rock Nation. And by the way, I forgot to mention too. Well, for those who don't know, Don the 2 is actually his first like independent release, right? Because he's not with Def Jam anymore actually. So
no, but the thing is that I thought we'd have gotten more like Watch the Throne era stuff following up. The whole rap partner, because they spend
all
so
they
much
show
time.
is just a snippet of Otis, that music video. That was
Exactly.
all.
That's so weird, right? Because like I keep thinking, because okay, the big narrative part was the Big Brother. Remember that Kanye West song Big Brother, and it's about Jeezy, right?
Yes,
so I keep thinking that's gonna be the narrative lineage, because they spent so much time about Kanye have to prove himself as a rapper, right? Because like that was one of it's not a criticism of Kanye, but he was never like a great rapper to me. He's just a solid rapper, not that good, just not as bad as say Puffy, for example. But they spent so much energy in part 1 and 2 trying to convince you that Kanye West need to be this great rapper. I thought they'd follow up with that narrative. Nothing. That is a big part of why this third part floundered for me, to be honest. Because like it's a narrative, it just dropped dead now. Like, what happened to that?
Yeah, I understand, because they just spent so much time on that story, on that come
exactly.
up now.
Yeah.
So and they just try to frame it as well. This was the majority of time that Kudi was involved in his life and career, right? But at the end of the day, folks, I mean, not perfect, but I still say that this is as good as it gets as far as a docuseries about Kanye. I imagine this was pretty difficult to put together anyway. But
Right.
and even though the narrative itself isn't as strong as it should be, though, it does give you a lot. It does show you a lot as far as Kanye is, right? His ups and downs and whatnot. It doesn't force the viewer to feel different about him. Like if you still come out of it hating him, that's fine. If you still come out of it saying that he's the best rapper alive or best producer ever, that's fine as well, right? But for me, what made it work is the Kudi narrative, right? Just
Right.
I was there when he did this. I was here when he was in the recording studio, did that. And then cut to years later, why he didn't want me here? Why I
Right.
could have been there to help him out during those hard times, right? And all
Right,
that kind of
right,
stuff,
right,
right? But how he came back into the story, though, I really did appreciate as well, though. So
Right.
it added a lot of like emotion to the overall thing. And at the end of the day, for me, that's how I saw it. Was just like, yeah, you know what I mean? We all go through a lot in life, right? But it's really the people that are in your life that really matters, because they're the ones that are going to steer you, hopefully, in the right direction, provided that you meet the right people at the right time, right? And that's what I appreciate. Just the closings of the prayer that he does in the end, right? It's the moment where he says, we have to, take note of the angels that you send down for us, Lord. You know what I mean? Yeah, the people that are in your life that are steering you in the right path. Not just Kudi, but Donda, right? And that's why I love that the film ends with that Donda performance that he did last year, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, not a perfect.
Right.
Go on.
That's another thing too, is that I thought they would have gotten into the mother a little more, because remember, like, he was really hung up on that. I thought they would have spent time on that, but again, because he didn't spend time with him, like remember Kanye West tried to make a video game about his mother and like stuff like that.
I thought they were gonna bring that up, because on the Shoney night, the Shoney night when he had the listening party for Life of Pablo,
Right.
But they didn't show that. They just showed him playing Famous and him with Pusha T. Yeah, your boy was there. And I saw I think I saw Future was there. I think
Okay.
so. Yeah.
Right,
Just vibing out to it, Yeah. But I told you the CD video game now. Like I thought they were gonna bring that up, but I guess clearly Kanye just wanna. Yeah,
the video game.
Yeah, I don't know what rock I was
Yeah, it
living
was
on.
like,
I don't know what
I
rock I
forget what it was. It was like a Android game or a Flash game or something like that, and basically
something like that. And
yeah.
it was his mom. I'm not
Mom
sure
going
how
to
she
heaven.
looked like, but I just know that she was on this.
Cloud.
She was on this unicorn or something. So
Right. Yeah.
and
Well, basically,
flying off to heaven.
yeah, it's one of those climbing games. It's the games where you just keep going up and up and up and get weirder and weirder. It's like that.
Right,
So
right.
it's a going to heaven effectively. That's what it came about.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah.
No,
And
in retrospect, it makes no sense. It's a really. It just feels half-hearted. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Not well thought out at all, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But for me though, for what it is though, I quite enjoyed it. The first two episodes for me are the strongest. The third one is the weakest, admittedly though. But for me, this is where the film was trying, even though it didn't completely do it perfectly, in my opinion, try to connect it to how he is right now and tie narrative threads and all that kind of stuff, right? So rating wise for the whole thing, I'm gonna give this. Well, sorry, for this episode, I'm gonna give this strong 3 to like 3.5, man. It's right for what it is. But overall, Jeen-Yuhs, a Kanye Trilogy, I'm gonna give this I like 4 out of 5, man. I think that this is absolutely worth checking out, though. Of course, if you're a fan of Kanye, you should watch this. As I said before, if you just don't like him now,
that ain't gonna do.
This won't do you anything. But if you've at least rocked with him, in the early days, at least you would appreciate those moments as well. Because those moments are stronger in the first episodes. But seeing where he is at, up to the Donda stage now is quite interesting as well. And I mean, at the end of the day, well, who knows what shenanigans Kanye will, be involved in. But I just do hope that the right people are there to stay him in a right path. And I'll stop here. So Ricardo, final thoughts. Well, sorry, final thoughts on this episode here and the overall trilogy. What do you thought?
Yeah, I don't know. I felt they should have stopped at 2 or capped off in a better way, because the third part just really was kind of lost the thread, to be honest, and it's unfortunate that happened. But it was still fine for what it is and what it was trying to do. The first 2 parts really was the best part. The first part in particular I really enjoyed. This third part really let me down. Not the worst thing ever, but just like you had a thread going and you kind of dropped that. And I get he was trying to say, all right, well, let me focus on the part of me, my friendship with Kanye, and that's the conceit. All right, I suppose that works. But yeah, overall as a whole documentary, I know it's a 6 out of 10. You know, probably a closer to a 5. But this third part was I had a big massive problem with it, more like closer to a 4. You know, it pulled along the whole thing. Yeah, overall, yeah, it was fine. I get it. If you're a fan of Kanye, a lot of it works. But yeah, but that's about it.